Here we go. Hey, everyone. Uh-oh. Can you guys let's unmute? Unmute. Welcome. So
Hey
I have
Yeah.
hey. So I have guests from two different races. I have Ian Patton that is running for the Long Beach City Council, 5th District. He is running to replace an existing candidate, correct?
Well, yes, but
Yes.
there's the incumbent running because of redistricting.
Well, there's an incumbent running from a different race that is part of a different office, right? But not out of the 5th. You're not running against the incumbent of the 5th, which I
Oh,
believe is
well, I guess in a sense, I'm running. One of my opponents is an incumbent in a different jurisdiction. That's right.
right. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then we have Dr. Mary Tahiri. I had an opportunity to meet you about a month ago, and so I'm really excited to be able to see you again. So what I want you to do, both of you, and I'm actually gonna ask you to do this twice. So Ian, I know I just kind of gave an introduction, but give your own introduction of who you are and what you're running for, and keep this one really short because I'm gonna come back to you.
Well, Jerlene, I am a lifelong resident of Long Beach. I grew up in Cal Heights and Bixby Knolls, and I am still here fighting for our quality of life. I'm a small business owner. I've also been involved in politics a long time, as you know. You may or may not know how far I go back in politics, but it does go quite a ways back to actually
Juanita McDonald.
it goes even further back, believe it or not. It goes back to when I was a teenager. And this is a quick introduction, so I need to get past the teenage years. But I was a teenager. I started volunteering for Betty Carnett. I worked for Juanita Millender McDonald after college. I did political consulting for a little while after that. And about 4 years ago, I formed with other folks, including former Councilman Gabelich, the Long Beach Reform Coalition. And we've been fighting to have transparency and accountability in City Hall ever since then. And that's really the pursuit that has taken over my life.
Wow.
And motivated me to do what I'm doing now.
Wow. You had an opportunity to work with some public servants.
Yes.
Public servants, not politicians, true public servants.
And true personalities too in public service.
Right. Well, thank you and welcome. I'm going to come back to you. Okay. Hey, Ian, we're back again. So, you said you are a small business on that. I know the consulting. So the one thing that is interesting, I did not know your I've often wondered about how you became involved in politics. So I've seen you as a political consultant. So you are running for the new 5th District, right? The new 5th District.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's on that map behind you, that beautiful map.
It is.
There it is.
It's a district that now spans from one side of Long Beach all the way to the other.
That's right. We are coast to coast, riverbank to riverbank.
Yes, so the new
almost, not quite.
So the current member, current council member Mungo was redistricted out, right? She was redistricted out, and the incumbent that you're speaking of that in another seat is Megan Kerr, school board member, area 1, and she's running in this race as well. Okay, mm-hmm. So for folks, local politics, I've been talking about local politics quite a bit. I've been spending a lot of time on the mayor's race. Right now, I'm live with Ian Patton, 5th District City Council seat candidate. Ian, I know you've been. I've seen you at different places or online. I've seen you. I don't know if I've made it out to see you in person yet. Yet you've had an opportunity to connect with voters in this new 5th District. How is that going?
Oh, it's going well. People are very receptive to the message that I'm bringing them, which is change, 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 and more change. They are not happy with the status quo. People are not happy about the lack of public safety that is really deteriorating in the city. People are aware that our police force has cut to the bone, and they have not gotten it restored from Measure A as they were promised. Everybody is talking about the homelessness crisis, of course, in our region and in our city, but definitely in this district, which is a relatively new thing because having grown up in this district in Cal Heights and Bixby Knolls, I can tell you we did not have a homelessness crisis. You could have searched all day and all night for an unhoused person in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up here. It just was not an issue. So this is something new to these residents, and the concern is rising because the law enforcement aspect, and nobody wants to come down like a hammer on a homeless person, but there's no backup if there is a dangerous situation that most people feel.
What do you think is, and I know we're going to keep this general, but I got a question. What do you think is the cause in this new rise of our unhoused population, or in this, you said it was new, but in this rise, what do you think is the cause?
Well, that's a really interesting question, and I don't know if anybody definitely knows the answer. I think there's been a lot of economic issues in terms of dislocation that stemmed from the last recession, and a lot of folks who got forced out of work, and then you had a lot of costs go up in terms of housing, and some folks just never got back into the employment economy. That may be a root cause of it. There may be regional issues in terms of people coming from other states to California. You can even look at national issues like the opioid crisis that impacts us here directly, but also maybe causes people to leave areas that have been decimated and come out here, either to escape it or because they're victims of it. I mean, I'm not a sociologist and I haven't really studied that aspect of it, but all I know is that whatever the cause is, once you're out on the street for any protracted period of time, you are suffering either from drug addiction or mental illness or both. It's basically impossible to stay out there and maintain a normal balance.
You are the first candidate I've heard mention the opioid epidemic. The first person. Thank you for that, because it's something that it seems to be people don't want to talk about. The things that you mentioned homelessness, public safety, in SB9. I don't know if you mentioned that or not. I think just a few moments ago. I know when we talked a little bit earlier that you mentioned it. I've noticed that many of the candidates are all talking about the same things. Do you think that is in order to appease people, or do you believe these are like the topics that whoever gets elected, that this is what it's on the people's minds?
Well, if you're a candidate for office, you have to talk about what people care about. And right now it's clear what people care about.
Okay.
I don't blame any, I don't think there's anything wrong with the fact that everybody out there is talking about these issues, because right now it's just so clear what people are upset about. I don't know that we're all talking about the same issues though, because I would be surprised if my opponent, who you described as a sort of a quasi-incumbent, is really focused on the density issue. She basically said she likes SB9 in the debate. She kind of said it's not perfect, but she actually said good things about it. So there's that. There's inflation, which I don't know if every candidate is talking about, but I definitely am, because as you know, I'm the guy who was against Measure A and leading an organization that was against Measure A. I think Measure A is really a disaster in this hyperinflation environment where so many small businesses and restaurants and retailers that have these really thin margins are just I mean, if they survived the pandemic at all, now to be hit with inflation and not even get a break on the sales tax is just more than a lot of them can take.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff going on right now where people are sensing that the city is just becoming less like the old Long Beach that was a little bit more relaxed and easy to deal with either as a resident or a business owner, and more like the big city, more like LA, more like big city problems where we have so much taxation, so many hurdles to living your life or starting a business or getting the services you need, and it's not coming back. You're just seeing the sort of the squalor spread. And if you're rich, if you're at that elite level, then you can always live above all the chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the tale of two cities in places like LA and Santa Monica. The wealthy are always, or San Francisco, right? Yeah. The wealthy are up in their towers, and all the squalor below doesn't really affect them, but it does everybody else who are, paying these high taxes.
Wow. I had got 5 different questions in my head, but I'm thinking we're gonna have to extend this conversation.
Anytime, that, Jerlene.
Yeah. So I know you have to roll out. Yet before you do that, what is one thing that you want to share with voters? And it could be maybe something you've not had an opportunity to share. Maybe it's something that you've experienced on this campaign trail. Maybe it's to dismiss something that is being said or shared about you. It doesn't. It's all up to you.
Well, fortunately, we haven't gotten into attack mode yet in the campaign. That could happen at any moment. I'm not planning to start it, but I'm always ready for that as someone who's been involved in other campaigns in this city where the other side has gone nerdy. I wish they had gone nerdy, actually.
Right. That's me. I'm the one that's going nerdy right now.
I love it when you go nerdy.
Yeah. One thing that I have to say that
I'm going to say dirty and negative. It came out nerdy.
We want them to go nerdy. We want them to start dropping data and statistics, right?
Yeah. But no, I honestly, I've done so many meet and greets. I've talked to so many people. I don't think there's anything I haven't talked with anybody about yet, but I will say one of the things that I would love to share with people is this sort of analogy to Long Beach City Hall that I just came up with randomly the other day. I think I was in the shower, actually, if that's not TMI, but it occurred to me that Long Beach City Hall, a perfect metaphor is Facebook. Yeah. And the reason is because Facebook is an organization that has a ton of money going through it, and it's got all these users who think they're the customer, but they're not. Facebook knows they're not. Facebook knows all those users out there who think they're the customer are actually the product. The customer are the advertisers, and the users and their eyes and their page views and their views of everything on Facebook are what are being sold to the real customers of Facebook, who are the advertisers.
Wow.
And Long Beach is being run these days in the exact same way, where all the residents think, of course, we're the customers. Why aren't we getting the kind of excellent customer service that we should expect? And it's because City Hall really doesn't see the residents as the customers anymore. City Hall sees the residents and really their tax dollars as the product. And that product is being sold to, guess who? The special interests, all the big, powerful, moneyed interests in the city who really control the agenda and who really have controlled the politicians and who pay these huge, i.e. independent expenditure campaigns to buy and sell politicians and ultimately get what they want when it comes time to negotiate a contract or get a favor or a perk or a tax abatement or basically a piece of that enormous revenue that flows through City Hall. City Hall has really come to see them as the customers, not the residents. It smiles at the residents and pays lip service to them, but they're no longer the customers. And that's what we need to change. And that's why we really, in a nutshell, why we formed the Long Beach Reform Coalition.
One of the reasons I started doing this commentary was to share some of the backside of things that the average voter doesn't know about. For example, like the campaign finances and what endorsements mean. And so as a resident and someone who wants to be the customer, I
ought to be.
I agree with you. So thank you. I wish we could continue the conversation so you could tell me how you plan on changing that. So hopefully we can make some time to do that. So there's only 2 candidates in your race?
No, ma'am. No. It is 3 against 1. 3 women against little old me.
You know what? I need to find my little spreadsheet, because I have a spreadsheet with everybody in it. So that means
it's Megan Kerr, Janine Bugard, and Linda Valdez, and myself.
That's right. I have not seen the other 2 candidates. I'm going to have to spend some time looking them up as well. So to learn a little bit about them. So that means there's a possibility of a runoff for you if you're in the top 2. Okay.
Yeah, that's the political math. When you've got 4 candidates, I had to accept that reality when it became 3 and then 4 that we're probably going to be in a runoff. Yeah.
Well, I wish you well. I will be watching, and you make it to the runoff, or I know every candidate wants to win. So if you win outright, yay team. If you end up to the runoff, let's continue this conversation. So I'm going to pull Mary in before I drop you off. And the reason why, Mary, in something that is, it's really exciting that I have you both here. It looks like children is coming to the room.
Sorry.
That's why I lock my door. So my children can't enter, is because there's overlap in your district. So I hope, Mary, you had an opportunity to listen to some of the things that Ian was talking about, because those are some of the things that I believe as assembly person, you would also be responsible for. So Ian, thank you for joining us. I'll put you in the back room. You can hang out if you like until you're ready to drop off. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jerlene. I would love to do this and continue this conversation anytime.
All right. Thank you.